मरघट तक है तेरी कहानी पग पग प्यारे दंगल 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 सूरज तेरा चढ़ता ढलता गर्दिश में करते हैं तारे दंगल 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 दंगल.
Great morning, my dear friends. Bhupesh Anand this side again. So we are in derivatives, and when I say derivatives, there are two readings involved in that. So I am doing with derivative, market, and instruments. We are doing the first reading of derivatives, named as derivative, market, and instruments. And in the last lecture, that is the lecture number 1, today's lecture number 2. In lecture number 1, I have just told you the zero, the ground zero concepts of derivatives, that there are 4 instruments: forwards, futures, options, and swaps. So these were the four instruments we have discussed in the last lecture. And I have told you what is the meaning of a forward and how it is differentiated between future, at least some part. It is an agreement, Forward is an agreement, future is an agreement, option is an agreement, swap is an agreement. All are agreements. Keeping in mind different views on a piece of paper for an underlying asset. So these are the components of a derivative. It is not something which is tangible or which is physical. It is not physical. Derivative is not a physical. Derivative is something which is tangible. So today's lecture number 2, I will be discussing with you learning outcome number A, that what is the meaning of a derivative and what are the difference between over the counter exchange, over the counter derivatives and exchange traded derivatives. So please take out your registers. Great morning, derivative markets and instruments, lecture number 2, learning outcome number A. We will be discussing with 2, define derivatives and distinguish between exchange traded and over the counter derivatives. So let me start with a concept named as derivative. So in the last lecture, I have told you there are different types of instruments of that, Forward is an agreement between two parties, the one who wants to buy something and the other who wants to sell something. That something can be underlying asset, that can be anything, That can be anything means it can be equity, it can be a bond, it can be a debt, it can be an asset, it can be commodity, it can be gold, it can be weather instruments, it can be whether the rainfall will be there or not. It can be on anything which is random in nature, which occurs random in nature, that is named as underlying asset. So the point is the agreement. The future is also an agreement, but it is traded in exchange. Option is also an agreement. Swap is also an agreement. So when I say agreement, when I say on an underlying asset, when I say counterparties, when I say a price is there, when I say future time interval is there, that agreement is recorded in a piece of paper. On a piece of paper, on a piece of paper, on a piece of paper, and that piece of paper in which there is an agreement, that is named as a derivative. So derivative is not as such any tangible asset. It is an intangible. It is an agreement which is between two persons, the one who has a long position and who thinks that, who is of the view of bullish in nature, and the second who has short position, who is of bearish in nature, on a particular price, on that mechanism. That is a derivative. So please write on first point. Derivative is a financial instrument. Like an agreement, please you have to write down, because then only the concept will be clear and we will be able to attempt all practical problems. Please write it down. I know that our examination is objective type, but we cannot objective type, but we cannot attempt objective unless and until we write it down subjective type. So firstly, you have to write it down. Derivative is a financial instrument like an agreement on piece of paper which derives its values based on the value of some underlying asset. Based on the value of underlying assets, standing crops, the prices of gold, the prices of whether this movie will have a box office hit or not. It can be on anything which is random in nature. So underlying asset can be foreign exchange, dollar, euros, Great Britain pounds, INR, Italy lira, Swiss franc, Australian dollars, Canadian dollars. It can be anything. Equity, fixed income, commodities, rice, coffee, tea. It can be on anything, rainfall. And the biggest part, which is very important, in derivative market is interest rate derivatives. This is the biggest component. I will say the biggest component of total derivative transactions will be interest rate derivatives. So we will be discussing with that, and derivatives on mortality, derivatives on weather. So this is the first point which I have told you, and there are four instruments of derivatives which we have discussed in the last lecture: forwards, futures, options, and swaps. And in next reading, we'll be discussing with it in detail. Now, the next point of this learning outcome is, which I want to tell you, is what is the difference between what is the difference between exchange traded derivatives and over the counter derivatives. Now the point is, derivatives, we can enter into an agreement through the help of exchange, with the help of exchange mechanism, or we can enter into agreement with one to one, with customized, that over the counter, tailor made. So our derivative markets can be of two types. Each market has its own positives and has its own negatives. Now if I want to tell you that, if I want to compare, just write in firstly point number 2. Under derivatives, we have two types of markets. Exchange traded and OTC. Now the point is, if I will say you that, please tell me, Mr. Student, Mr. Friend, tell me that before discussing the comparison, which market as per you is more prominent, which market is more dominating, in which market there are more number of volume of transactions. So can you answer my question, that whether it is exchange market derivative markets or whether it is over the counter derivative markets? And the answer will be over the counter derivative markets. I will tell you why. Firstly, divide your page into two parts: exchange traded derivative market and over the counter derivative market. Left hand side is exchange traded derivative market, right hand side is over the counter derivative market. We will be discussing with that. We will be comparing each and every aspect of these two markets, and then we will be finding out which has which pros and cons. Now when I say exchange traded, I have told you the last lecture, when I say future exchange, there are so many buyers, the persons who are of the bullish in nature view, and they are standing here, and the persons who are in bearish in view, who wants to have a short position, will enter here. Now they will be transacting with the help of exchange, and exchange is regulated by different regulators, for example, in India, SEBI is the regulatory authority, and this exchange has a clearing house. Now if this exchange has a clearing house, this exchange has dealers, this exchange has brokers, and all these persons are entering, who wants to purchase future contract or who want to sell future contracts, they are entering into exchange with the help of these brokers, sub brokers, and dealers. Now there is a concept of marked, which I will be discussing in detail. Marked to market, in which both the parties have to deposit initial margin and have to maintain maintenance margin, as we discuss in equity. So that is a security deposit. Clearing house is there, standardized product is there, standard quality is there, standard price is there. Everything is standardized, and we will be trading with the help of exchange. It means exchange is treated as a middleman. It is as a middle agency who is transacting, who is helping to transact the buyers and the sellers. So when I say exchange traded derivative markets, it means futures are exchange traded, and options can be OTC as well as exchange traded. So I will say some part of option is also exchange traded. But forwards, but swaps, they are not exchange traded, they are OTC market products. So we want to compare, we want to find out that what are the positives of exchange traded and what are the negatives of exchange traded, and what are the positives of OTC markets and what are the negatives of OTC markets. Now when I say they are standardized, when I say the quality is fixed, now, in case your need is customized, in case your need is tailor made, in that case, this exchange and traded market will not be helping you, because you want a customized product. And generally in the case of institutions, the large institutions, they require customized product. And when I say customized product, exchange traded markets will not be the solution for them, and hence institutions, they more rely on customized product, they more rely on OTC market. But there is a problem in OTC market. There is involvement of counterparty risk. Now, what is the meaning of a counterparty? The other party from whom the agreement has been signed, that party is named as counterparty. That party can run also. There is an involvement of default risk. So because there is no clearing house, because there is no deposit, and because of that, in 2008 crisis, the OTC market was also one of the most important factor in giving the pace to that 2008 crisis, because there was no margin, no nothing doing. That is the reason that USA government took the decision to bail out AIG. I will be showing you AIG site, that why they have taken the decision to bail out that company. So there is no as such deposit, but recently they have introduced a concept named as central counterparty. In case of OTC, that there should be some deposit, and that central counterparty, that party will take some margin. But that is not in our course, that we will be discussing in level number 2 or 3. So the point is, we have to prepare a table, and then we have to find out the difference between these two. So please prepare the table. This market, exchange traded market, is more standardized. As I have just told you, standard quantity, standard quality, standard fixed price, depending upon the demand and supply, will be there. But in this case, over the counter market, when I say over the counter, I mean forwards, I mean swaps, I mean options also, because options can be exchange traded or OTC. When I say exchange traded, I mean futures and I mean options. So please read it from that aspect: more standardized, more customized, used by individuals and institutions. More they are used by individuals. I will not say that institutions don't go for that. We are ready for that also. But the more transactions are now are by individuals in exchange traded, and in case of over the counter, it is only maximum done by institutions. In exchange traded, it reduces counterparty risk. Why it reduces? When I said counterparty, it means the other party, because there is a clearing house, there is the MTM process, there is the initial margin, there is mark to market, there is maintenance margin. In that case, the risk involvement, default risk, is low, or it is next to zero, because clearing house is present. But in case of OTC market, derivative market, the risk is, default risk is, counterparty risk is huge. That was the main reason of 2008 financial crisis, and due to that, USA government has decided to bail out AIG, and I will be showing you Enron also today. The two case studies, smaller or larger in size deals. Exchange traded transactions are smaller, and it can be larger, but mostly it is smaller. But OTC markets are in large size, and you will be surprised to know that it goes to billion and trillions. And the last point which I want to tell you is that exchange traded markets are mark to market processes involved. When I say mark to market, a person has to deposit initial margin, and daily, if profit or loss is there, that will be debited or credited in the margin account, and on the basis of that, maintenance margin has to be maintained. And if the balance, initial margin balance, is below maintenance margin, then that party has to deposit the margin up to the initial margin again. So there involves MTM process, but as such there is no MTM process in this. But no doubt we are thinking for that, and a new concept, central counterparty, has been introduced in OTC market, as per which both the counterparties have to deposit the margin to that central counterparty. But for your case, just leave it. And the case study which I want to show you is Enron and AIG. Just firstly see AIG falling joint, a case study of AIG. Now, what was happened in AIG? I have taken the case study from this Investopedia. Just a little over 9 years since the federal government gave the American, this better known as AIG, this a bailout of 85 billion. Just see. The Financial Stability Overnight Council decided the financial distress at the insurance giant no longer pose a threat to US stability. The council voted to remove AIG from the list of systematic risk institutions known as too big to fail. No, the main exposure of this company was due to derivatives. So removed from this status because they have gone through OTC markets. AIG is now free from supervision. This. On September, the exchange, this. But in September, the company has gone government assistance. Now, if you see, you can find out what are the reasons behind that. What are the reasons? What are the reasons why the US government has taken this decision? It was clear that AI was in danger of insolvency. To prevent that too big to fail. Okay, what are the reasons? Just see. Simply, AIG was considered too big to fail, and an amount of institutional investors, mutual fund, pension fund, hedge fund, both invested and also insured. In particular, many investment that has this Goldman Sachs, for example, money market funds, all that is being involved, and they have been more exposed to OTC derivative markets. So I have told you that this can be, that is the reason that they have started with central counterparty concept. Now see this Enron, the derivative at a root of Enron collapse. Now derivative at a root of Enron collapse. Now because they have entered into the OTC market, so that was the main reason of collapse of Enron. Derivative at the root of Enron collapse. Extensive use of derivatives. Enron Corporation extensive use of derivatives, not just its accounting practice, also the root of fallen energy giants. This. And if you see the history, you can find out that what were the reasons. The main reason was excessive use of derivative through OTC markets. So, my dear friends, in today's lecture number 2, I have discussed LOSA, and within LOSA, I have told you what is the meaning of a derivative, what are the different instruments of derivative, why it is an instrument, why it is an agreement, what is underlying asset, what is counterparty, what is a counterparty risk, what is default risk, and the difference between exchange traded derivative market and all the counter derivative markets. And I have told you the 2 case studies, Enron and AIG. Similarly, you can find out so many case studies which were there because of excessive derivative exposure. Now they are nowhere. So hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Be happy, be jolly, be cheerful.